Hello, beautiful souls. If you're a woman over 50, 60, or even 70, I want you to know something right now. You don't have to change who you are to become magnetic. In fact, the most irresistible women I know aren't chasing youth or trends. They've learned how to fully be themselves. There are subtle, almost invisible habits that make you captivating without even trying. These aren't about looks, and they're definitely not about being someone you're not. They're about energy, presence, and the way you carry the wisdom of your years with grace. And today, I'm sharing 12 of those habits. Some of them might surprise you. Some might feel like things you've always known but never truly embraced. But every single one has the power to shift how you feel about yourself and how others experience being around you. So take a deep breath, settle in, and stay with me until the end. Because number 11 changed my life in ways I never expected, and it might do the same for you. Habit 1. She knows what lights her up. There's something quietly powerful about a woman who knows what brings her joy. This isn't about responsibilities, errands, or what needs to get done. This is about what lights you up from the inside, the thing that makes your eyes sparkle when you talk about it. The activity that makes you lose track of time because you're completely in it, fully present, fully alive. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's hiking. Maybe it's playing piano at night when the world is quiet. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it's yours. I remember meeting a woman in her 70s at a quiet gathering. She wasn't trying to be the center of attention, but the moment someone asked her about the pottery she makes in her garage, something changed. Her voice lit up. Her hands moved with excitement. Everyone around her felt it. Not because they loved pottery, but because they could feel her passion. That kind of energy is contagious. It pulls people in. Irresistible women aren't trying to impress anyone. They're just deeply connected to what makes them feel alive. And here's the truth. That kind of joy can't be manufactured, but it can be rediscovered, even after decades of putting other people first. So ask yourself, what lights you up? And more importantly, when was the last time you gave yourself permission to go do it? Because when a woman chooses her joy, even in the smallest ways, she becomes magnetic in the most natural, effortless way. Habit 2. She stands tall, not for show, but from the soul. There's a certain energy that enters the room before a word is even spoken, and more often than not, it comes from posture, but not the rigid, robotic kind we were told to practice in school. I'm talking about a posture that comes from knowing who you are, shoulders soft but back straight, chin relaxed but lifted, a quiet confidence that says, I belong here. I'll never forget watching my mother walk into a room after her retirement party. No fancy dress, no loud introduction, just presence. She walked in with a calm strength, as if the years had shaped her, not shrunk her. She didn't need to prove anything, and because of that, people naturally turned toward her. You see, standing tall isn't just a physical act. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's about no longer apologizing for your age, your voice, your place in the world. So many women, especially as we get older, begin to shrink themselves. We slouch not just our shoulders, but our presence. We worry about taking up too much space. But what if I told you, you're meant to take up all the space your story has earned? When you stand tall with grace, you're sending a message without saying a word. I'm here. I've lived. I carry wisdom in my bones and strength in my spine. And even if it feels awkward at first, practice it. Try it right now. Breathe in. Pull your shoulders gently back. Let your chest open. Ground your feet. Feel that? That's not just posture. That's power. And people feel it instantly. Habit 3. She laughs easily, especially at herself. There's something incredibly freeing about a woman who doesn't take herself too seriously. She's the one who can laugh when plans fall apart, when she forgets where she left her glasses, only to realize they're on her head. She doesn't pretend to be perfect. She doesn't try to cover every flaw. And because of that, people relax around her. I once saw an older woman trip slightly at a coffee shop. Nothing dramatic, just a little stumble. Instead of being embarrassed or brushing it off like it didn't happen, she burst out laughing. Not the nervous kind, but the kind that invites everyone around her to laugh too. And you know what happened? The entire energy in that space changed. Strangers smiled. The barista made a joke. That small moment, handled with joy instead of shame, made her unforgettable. When a woman can laugh at herself, she tells the world, I am human. I am whole. And I'm okay with both. There's power in that. A quiet, magnetic power. As we get older, society often tries to put us in a box labeled serious or past our prime. But humor says otherwise. Humor says you're still alive, still present, still full of light. And laughter, real, belly-deep laughter, is youthful. Not because it makes you look younger, but because it keeps you open. So go ahead and laugh at the mess, at the memory you forgot, at life's ridiculous timing. Because when you do, you remind everyone, including yourself, that joy is still your birthright, and nothing draws people closer than a woman who can laugh without hesitation. Habit 4. She wears her smile like a crown. There's a certain kind of smile that doesn't just show up on your face. It radiates from your entire being. It's not forced. It's not for show. It's the kind of smile that comes from someone who's made peace with herself. And when an older woman wears that kind of smile, people don't just see it. They feel it. I've seen women with laugh lines deeper than most people's worries light up a room with nothing more than a glance and a grin. Not because their smile was perfect, but because it was real. A smile that says, I've lived, I've loved, I've lost, and I'm still standing. That kind of honesty is irresistible. You don't need flawless skin or perfect teeth to smile beautifully. In fact, the most captivating smiles are the ones wrapped in warmth, in stories, in moments that shaped you. The ones that say, I've been through it, and I still choose joy. And here's the magic. When you allow yourself to smile freely, especially in a world that often tells older women to quiet down, to disappear, you remind everyone that beauty isn't behind you. It's within you. Your smile can disarm tension. It can comfort. It can connect. And most of all, it can reflect something so many people long for: peace with who you are. So wear your smile like a crown, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you finally don't have to. You're not smiling for approval. You're smiling because you know your worth. And when that happens, your presence becomes unforgettable. Habit 5. She says no without a speech. There's something remarkably powerful about a woman who can say no, clearly, kindly, and without explaining herself for 5 minutes afterward. It's not cold. It's not harsh. It's simply a woman who knows where her energy begins and ends. For so many years, we're taught to be agreeable, to keep the peace, to avoid disappointing others. But the truth is, saying yes all the time doesn't make you kind. It makes you exhausted. And eventually, it makes you resentful. An irresistible older woman has learned that her time, energy, and peace are not unlimited. She stopped saying yes out of guilt. She stopped over-explaining. She stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. Instead, she trusts her instincts. She knows what aligns with her values and what doesn't. And when she feels a no rising up, she honors it with grace, with clarity, without apology. Because here's the truth. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you say yes to something that nourishes you. More rest, more joy, more space to just be. And that kind of self-respect is rare and magnetic. People are drawn to women who have strong boundaries, not because they're difficult, but because they're dependable. You know where you stand with them, and you respect them more for it. So let this be your permission. You don't have to justify your no. You don't owe anyone a long story. Sometimes the most loving thing you can say is simply, "No, thank you." Period. And when you can do that with kindness and confidence, you send a clear message to the world. My peace matters. I matter. And that, more than anything, is what makes you irresistible. Habit 6. She dresses like she honors herself. There's a noticeable difference between dressing to impress and dressing to express. An irresistible woman isn't following trends, trying to look younger or asking for approval. She's simply choosing clothes that feel like home to her. She doesn't ask, "Is this age appropriate?" She asks, "Does this feel like me?" And that subtle shift from conformity to authenticity changes everything. I remember seeing a woman at a weekend market wearing a long, flowy dress in deep orange, a chunky silver bracelet, and the most radiant smile. She couldn't have cared less if her outfit was in. She looked alive, vibrant. Like every piece she wore told a little story about who she was. That's the beauty of dressing with intention. You're not trying to be seen. You're just not hiding anymore. When you wear something that makes you feel good, a soft scarf, a pair of earrings that remind you of a trip, or a color that lifts your mood, you send a quiet message to everyone around you. I value myself enough to show up fully. It's not about being flashy. It's about being aligned. Your clothing becomes a reflection of your inner world, confident, grounded, and still evolving. And here's the thing. When you honor yourself in how you dress, you invite others to do the same. You stop apologizing for your age, your body, or your style. You stop dressing to disappear, and instead you start showing up, boldly, beautifully, truthfully, because clothes are not just fabric, they're energy. And when that energy matches who you really are, you become unforgettable without even saying a word. Habit 7. She makes space for silence. In a world that never stops talking, there's something deeply magnetic about a woman who's comfortable with quiet. Not the awkward kind, not the silence that screams to be filled, but the kind that feels steady, grounding, and full of presence. An irresistible older woman understands the value of stillness. She doesn't rush to fill every pause or prove herself in every conversation. She knows that some of the most powerful moments happen in the spaces between words. I once met a woman who started every morning with 10 minutes of silence. No phone, no news, just her, a warm cup of tea, and the sunrise. She told me it was the only way she could hear herself think, and more importantly, feel. That practice shaped how she moved through the world. She was never in a hurry, never reactive. There was a calm in her presence that made people lean in a little closer, not because she said more, but because she needed to say less. Silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. And when you allow yourself time for reflection, whether that's journaling, meditating, walking alone, or simply sitting in stillness, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You stop chasing and you start listening to your own intuition, to your own truth. And that grounded energy? People feel it in relationships, at work, even in casual conversations. You'll find that others begin to slow down around you, to match your pace, to feel safe in your presence. Because when a woman makes peace with silence, she becomes a source of calm in a noisy world. And that kind of calm? That's not just rare, it's unforgettable. Habit 8. She nurtures her curiosity, not just her kids. One of the most captivating things about a woman isn't what she knows. It's that she's still curious, still learning, still wondering, still open. As women, we spend decades caring for others, raising kids, supporting partners, showing up for family and friends. And somewhere along the way, our own passions, our own interests, can quietly slip into the background. But an irresistible older woman brings them back to the front. She explores. She takes a class just because it sounds fun. She reads about history, art, or astronomy, not because she has to, but because she wants to. She might be learning a new language, trying her hand at watercolor painting, or volunteering in a cause she's never explored before. And you know what? It shows. It shows in the way her eyes light up when she talks. It shows in the stories she shares, full of color, full of texture, full of life. That kind of energy is impossible to fake. I once sat next to a woman in her 60s on a plane who had just gotten back from a solo trip to Costa Rica. Not because she needed to prove anything, but because she'd always wanted to see the rainforest. She said, "Why not now?" And that sentence stuck with me. Why not now? Curiosity keeps you vibrant. It reminds you that life isn't over. It's just shifting. That you're not here to fade into the background. You're here to keep evolving. Because a woman who nurtures her own passions doesn't just fill her own cup. She becomes magnetic to everyone around her. People feel the richness of her life, and they want to be part of it. Habit 9. She listens deeply. In a world where everyone's trying to be heard, a woman who truly listens is rare and unforgettable. Not the kind of listening where you're just waiting for your turn to speak. I'm talking about the kind of listening where the other person feels seen, understood, safe. That kind of presence is powerful, and as we get older, it becomes one of our greatest gifts. An irresistible woman doesn't interrupt to insert her opinion. She doesn't rush to fix, judge, or solve. Instead, she makes space, and in doing so, she gives something so many people are starving for: attention without expectation. I once watched a woman have a 5-minute conversation with a stranger in a waiting room. She barely said a word, just asked one gentle question and let the other person talk. By the end of it, that stranger was crying and smiling and thanking her, not because she had the answers, but because she had presence. That's what deep listening does. It creates connection, trust, and warmth without effort, without performance. And the truth is, when you listen like that, people remember you, not because you dazzled them with your stories, but because they felt better after being around you. They felt heard. And that feeling is magnetic. The ability to listen deeply comes from experience, from having lived through enough to know that sometimes people don't need advice. They just need your stillness, your eye contact, your quiet encouragement that says, "You matter." So the next time you're in conversation, try it. Slow down. Put the phone down. Be all there. Because when you listen with your whole heart, your presence becomes a gift, one people won't forget. Habit 10. She loves herself like someone worth loving. There's something profoundly powerful about a woman who treats herself with the same tenderness she's given to everyone else her whole life. She no longer waits for permission to rest. She no longer criticizes herself for every wrinkle, every mistake, every imperfect moment. She simply accepts herself fully. That kind of love doesn't happen overnight. It's earned, often through years of being too hard on yourself, of trying to be everything to everyone. But at some point, the irresistible woman makes a quiet decision. I'm not doing that anymore. She speaks kindly to herself, especially on the hard days. She forgives herself for the choices she made when she didn't know better. She no longer looks in the mirror searching for flaws. She looks for signs of a life well lived. The lines that came from laughter, the softness that came from motherhood, the spark that's still there, even when everything else has changed. This is what true self-love looks like, not the kind plastered all over social media, the kind that says, "I matter," even when no one's watching. It's walking away from people who drain you. It's letting yourself rest without guilt. It's saying, "I've done enough today," and actually believing it. And here's the truth. When a woman loves herself like someone worth loving, everyone else takes notice. Not because she's loud about it, but because it shows up in how she walks, how she speaks, how she treats others. It radiates from her without trying. She becomes a mirror for other women too. A quiet example that healing is possible, that peace is possible, that being enough is no longer a question. So if you've spent years putting yourself last, this is your reminder. It's never too late to come home to yourself, because the most irresistible thing about you is your ability to finally see your own worth. Habit 11. She protects her peace like a queen, guards her crown. An irresistible woman knows her peace is sacred, and she doesn't give it away lightly. She's not available for chaos, drama, or energy that drains her. She's kind, yes, but she's also clear. She doesn't explain her boundaries. She embodies them. She's learned that not everything deserves a reaction. Not every invitation needs a yes. Her calm isn't weakness, it's wisdom. She's been through enough to know that her time, energy, and emotional space are valuable, and she protects them with quiet strength. People may not always understand it, but they respect it. Because a woman who fiercely protects her peace carries a power that speaks louder than words. Habit 12. She lives in the moment, fully, freely, fiercely. The most irresistible women I've ever met have one thing in common. They're fully present. They're not stuck in regrets about the past, and they're not obsessed with what's coming next. They've learned to find beauty right here, in the now. She laughs at dinner without checking her phone. She watches the sunset like it's the first time. She listens to a loved one without rushing the moment. There's a softness in her, but also a fire. Because she knows life is too precious to live on autopilot. When a woman lives in the moment, she becomes unforgettable, not because she's trying to be, but because presence is rare, and people feel it. So take a deep breath. Look around. This moment, it's yours. And when you show up for it fully, you shine without even trying. So here's what I want you to remember. Being irresistible has nothing to do with age, beauty standards, or doing more. It has everything to do with being more of who you already are. These habits, they're not about changing yourself. They're about coming home to yourself, to your wisdom, your joy, your boundaries, your curiosity, your light. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop shrinking and start shining. If even one of these habits spoke to your heart, hold on to it. Practice it. Let it guide you into this next chapter of life, not with fear, but with fire. And if you know a woman who's forgotten how radiant she truly is, send this to her. Sometimes all we need is a gentle reminder. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this resonated, make sure to subscribe for more soul-nourishing content and join our community of wise, beautiful women rewriting what it means to age. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and above all, stay deeply you.